Welcome to today's edition of Mental Health Matters. Today I have Evelina Henson on the show, and we're going to talk about mental health and me. Get you something to drink, get you a snack, and come on back. Good afternoon, Evelina. How are you doing?
Good afternoon. I'm doing good. I'm doing good. How you doing?
I'm doing okay. I'm doing okay. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule and allow me to interview you and just share your story about mental health and what mental health means to you. And yeah, I think this is going to be a really, really good show.
Yes, of course. Yeah, thank you so much, honestly, for having me on. I think that this is going to be a wonderful kind of platform to kind of broaden and open the discussion as it relates to mental health. This is an important discussion, so I really appreciate being invited to come on the show today.
Absolutely, absolutely. So why don't we start by you introducing yourself and what do you do for work or anything you want to share, but just introduce yourself and we'll go from there.
Of course, of course. Yes, so my name is Evelina Henson. I am a U.S. Army veteran. So I was in the Army for 6 years. So that's kind of cool. I currently work in the mental health field. I'm getting my master's right now in counseling psychology with a concentration in marriage and family therapy. So I'm going to be a therapist. I have about another year left in school. I have my bachelor's in psychology, and I've done work in the mental health field. So I'm very passionate about what I do as it relates to mental health. So that's a little bit about me. I guess to get into like the personal kind of aspect, I have two children. I have an 8-year-old daughter, and I also have a 6-year-old son. So they are like my heart and soul. And I think that this is going to be kind of like a wonderful time to maybe even talk about parenting mental health, you know what I'm saying? And kind of the struggles that even parents kind of face, like trying to balance everything out and also being a parent and kind of being there for their own children's mental health and their own mental health too, simultaneously. So I'm really excited for this discussion, honestly.
Oh, nice. So I did not know you are a veteran. Wow,
Yeah,
interested. So we're gonna have a whole nother conversation about
that's
this.
cool. I'm ready for everything, honestly.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
So Evelina, were you born here in Sacramento?
Yeah. So I'm born and raised in actually South Sacramento.
Okay.
Yes. So when I was 18, I left Sacramento. I joined the Army. Um, and never looked back, but I'm here. I'm back in Sacramento now. I actually live in Elk Grove. Um,
Okay.
so yeah, but I'm originally born in Sac. Yeah.
So do you have any siblings? Are you the only child or?
So I'm not the only child. I actually have a younger brother. He's 18. I have an older brother. He is 30. And then I have a younger sister who's 22.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. All right. It's okay. So, what made you want to get in the mental health field? Because I know you said you got a bachelor's in psychology. When you decided to go to school, to get your BA, well, your bachelor's in psychology, were you passionate about mental health at that time as well?
That's a great question. Yeah. I was definitely passionate about mental health. Honestly, so kind of coming from a family that kind of seeing the prevalence of these psychological disorders like in my family.
Hmm.
My father struggled with depression. So I saw that. I was very much kind of in that kind of whole dynamic. It was very prevalent, and I witnessed kind of my dad's struggles. So that's truly what kind of was a catalyst and what truly propelled me to be interested in the mental health field. But then once I was in high school, I started personally going through my own mental health experience, right? I started kind of going through some anxiety, right? Some depression. And I mean, what people fail to realize a lot of times is that there is a genetic kind of disposition. So it does run in families.
Yeah.
There is a genetic component to mental health. So being that my father experienced it, I'm more likely to experience that, right? Just in terms of a biological kind of disposition. Um, but yeah, and then also my older brother, he struggled with his own mental health. And actually he has cerebral palsy. I'm not sure if anybody is aware of what that is.
I
Um,
am.
okay, yeah, yeah. So he has cerebral palsy. So he he doesn't feel very independent. And there's a
No.
lot of things that he's not able to do, my 30-year-old brother. There's a lot of things that he's not able to do on an independent basis. And he's gone through so much kind of internal distress and just kind of related to his own internal struggles of not feeling adequate enough or not feeling self-sufficient. So I also witnessed that with my brother, and he still has those struggles with mental health. So I've always been truly passionate just from a young child, just like witnessing it within my household.
Yeah.
So yeah, that I've always been passionate about it for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, um like you have people in my family, brothers, sisters who struggle with
Mm,
mental health challenges as well. And the thing is with that, my mom did not, as we was growing up, she did not get them any help or support, any resources, because she was afraid of what her friends, what family would think.
yeah.
And obviously, she was falling into, the stigma aspect of the mental health, which is why my siblings end up suffering,
Yeah.
and later on in life, my brother, my youngest brother, he ended up going to jail like 3 or 4 times, got incarcerated. And that's when he finally got some help. I remember him calling me and telling me, he has all these voices and personality and things like that. And
Yeah.
so I told him, I said, well, you need to go and see if you can talk to a psychiatrist or somebody in there to get you some help. And that's what he did. So he, got a little bit more stable while he was incarcerated. So when he came out, he was still a little bit stable, but he ended up getting off the medication and then started to do some self-medication, which put him
Mm,
back in a bad place.
yeah. Yeah.
So,
It's really hard, honestly, because I mean, I'm aware of the stigma that's associated with mental health. And I think as we kind of dive into this kind of cultural kind of variations, in different cultures, it's like there's the stigma is so much more prevalent
yeah.
um, because it's like, for per se, like for example, like in the Black community, it's like my mom, even like my mom when I was younger, she would be like, just be happy, like, you're not going through anything too significant. She's like, people are starving and they are homeless and
Mhm.
stuff. But what that is doing is that is inadvertently diminishing and invalidating people's struggles,
That's
right?
right. Hmm.
Yeah, so it's like I understand these cultural kind of variations, but I can't understand or get behind people diminishing and invalidating people's human struggles, right,
Yeah.
of existence because we're all human, right? We
Right.
we go through emotions, very complex emotions. And I think that we're in a place now within society and like this mainstream kind of media that we're learning to kind of take mental health a lot more seriously
Hmm.
because we've seen the implications, right? We've seen the implications. We see the suicide rates be so high, right? We've
Hmm.
seen people's struggles with depression and anxiety and schizophrenia and just like all of these different personality disorders. So I'm glad that we're in the place that we are, but I totally understand like that cultural kind of component as far as, people not wanting to seek out treatment for, being afraid of the backlash or the negative reaction for, the people around them. I
Yeah.
understand that. I get that. It's very prevalent, but it's like we're in a different day and age now. And I want people to feel more confident and comfortable coming forward to seek help.
Yes, absolutely. And I'm assuming that's the reason why you want to get a master's degree in your field and become a therapist.
Oh, 100%. 100%. Yeah. This is it's my passion.
Yeah.
This is what I'm passionate about. I've experienced so many different situations in which I was just I didn't necessarily feel like I had the appropriate resources
Yeah.
or assistance or outlet, right? It's just like, what I'm saying, you're going through these crises and then, you go to the hospital and whatnot, and what do? They just tell you if it's not a physical ailment, it's not something that they could see, right? They just like bring you in and then, send you off or schedule you an appointment for 6 months down the line. And it's just
Yeah.
like, but my crisis is happening now. I'm in
Yeah.
crisis now. I need help now. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? But it's so like uncommon for providers and clinicians to see somebody going through these things and be able to kind of be like, okay, I don't see anything presenting physically, right? But it's all mental. This is not
Right.
something that you can see.
Exactly.
It's like it is so important. Like mental health is so important because without mental health, you have no health.
Yeah.
Without mental health, you don't even have physical health because if you're not okay and you're within your mind and in your brain, then that affects everything. And it's so pervasive if your mental health is not in a
Mhm.
positive place.
Yes.
So,
That is absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. And I feel like we need more people um in this field or in this space to be able to have that passion and their own lived experience in order to provide quality services to folks, who are struggling with mental health.
of course, of course. I agree. I
Yeah.
agree completely. I agree. Lived experience is something that you don't find every day. And especially because there is so much stigma and there is so much kind of this negative connotation about like mental illness or mental health. So like when you do find people that are willing to step up and share their story and be passionate about it, I think that that is the catalyst for change. And that's the catalyst for people to be willing to kind of seek that treatment and seek help because they see that somebody of this stature has done that. And so it's like, I want to follow suit because I see that it's not negative to have struggles with
Yes.
psychological health. Uh,
Yes.
yeah. So it's just like the more people we have coming forward, sharing their stories, I think, we'll see that kind of domino effect. People are just going to continue to seek help. So yeah.
Yes. When you realize that you had your own struggles with mental health,
Yeah.
how did you position yourself to get the help that you needed for yourself?
Right. Yeah. Um, yeah. So when I started to realize that I was struggling, at first I was truly at a loss. I didn't really understand what was going on, honestly.
Yeah.
I felt very alone. I felt very isolated. I didn't know or have the comprehension to realize that this is something that a lot of people struggle with, right?
Yeah.
So I felt very much in the dark, and I thought that I was so abnormal and that I was alien, literally, because the experiences that I was having, I'm like, this is not something that normal people go through.
Yeah.
Uh, and this was like early in my 20s. And I felt just like so different. And then when I started to do some more research into psychology, um, I started to really like be able to deconstruct and process the fact that this is real. What I'm going through is real, right? So I think the first step for me was validating my own experience, right? Because nobody else is going to validate my own experience. Nobody
Right.
else is going to sit here and tell me, hey, like you're really going through something real. So once I came to that understanding and that conclusion and that acceptance, I was able to seek treatment. I was able to find a therapist. I was able to find a psychiatrist so that, because I mean, psychiatrists, they are able to prescribe medication if needed, right? It's on a person to person, very personal basis. So I was able to seek out those resources. Once I was able to accept the fact that I'm struggling,
Right.
I'm struggling. And it's either like I have two options here. I can continue struggling and go down this dark path. And as a mother, like not be able to be there for my children emotionally, mentally, and physically. Or on the other hand, I can put my pride aside and I can go get help. And
Right.
so that was that kind of transition period into me seeking help.
That you know what I love the fact that you allowed your children to be a motivator for you to want to get the best help possible so that you can show up as their mother,
Yes.
um, in a very defined or very quality type of way.
Thank
Because sometimes people don't think like that. Sometimes people be like, oh, well,
you. Yeah.
hey, this is me, but I really like that you allow your children to position you so
Hmm.
that you could be that mother that's mentally stable,
Yes.
so because, so that you can do what you need to do for them. How sometimes us Black folks are, we, we can be a little bit selfish. Let's be real, um, but it is a
Stubborn.
different. What'd you say?
But a little stubborn.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Very stubborn.
Mhm.
But we're in a different time, in a different space, in a different place, and that's why it's good for people like you and I,
Mm.
who have our experience, lived or as a family member, educated, and just really trying to change the narrative, you
Mm.
know. So I really do commend you on that. And I also like the fact that when you went out to get the help you needed, you didn't allow nobody to tell you what you needed for you because you knew what type of help you needed because you knew what you was going through. And
Exactly.
that's very important, you know.
Exactly.
So yeah, I commend you on that.
Thank you.
Evelina, so what are some things that you personally do to maintain your mental health?
Yes. That's a great question. So some things that I do to maintain my mental health are I love to be out in nature as much as possible, right?
Really?
Yes, I love to go sit out at the lake, at the river, or just, take a nice hike. I like to be in nature. I like to be under the sun. Like that is where I get the most recharging of just like my social battery, just like my spirit. Like
Yeah.
when I'm outside, it's like I feel my spirit just recharging and being able to re-amplify that. And then I also do meditation.
Okay.
Meditation and mindfulness is something that I've been practicing for about 3 years now. This was actually one of the initial primary interventions that my therapist at the time had instructed me or recommended for me doing meditation. And I was like, meditation? I was like, what is that? Like, you know what I'm saying? I feel like there's like this even a negative connotation to meditation because I'm like people don't believe in something that they've never experienced and that they've never done research on. But like after being in my lowest of lows, it's like I will try anything at this
Yeah.
point. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
So I started to meditate and I would sit with myself, right? Because a lot of people can't sit with themselves.
Hmm.
That's what I have seen, right? In this day and age where kind of like we're all struggling with something, right? And
Hmm.
people want to kind of distract themselves from the emotions, from the
Uh-huh.
pain. They want to pick up some type of vice or some type of, substance abuse, addiction, some type of addiction to really kind of suppress that, right? But it's like I turn to meditation as just like I need something. I need
Yeah.
something because nothing that I've tried has worked for me.
Yeah.
So that was something that I've been practicing that for about 3 years now. So I would sit with myself. And I would, when I first started, I was sitting for 30 minutes, 3 times a day. So that's about 90 minutes.
Yeah.
In the beginning, it was really hard. It was really hard because it's like sitting with myself to like turning off my thoughts, kind of honing in on just like my spiritual being, just like my person, right? Um, and turning it off and being present in the moment. That was like something that conceptually I couldn't wrap my head or comprehend, right? Like before I even started to do it. Because I have this very overactive, I'm an overthinker. I
Uh-huh.
have this very overactive mind. Like I'm constantly thinking about the next thing, not about the next thing. But surprisingly enough, the very first time that I sat and I sat in my meditation, it all turned off.
Mm.
Everything turned off. My mind turned off. The overactivity turned off. The overthinking turned off. And I finally felt safe.
Mhm.
Finally felt safe in my body. And that was probably the first time that I sat down and meditated, was probably the first time that I ever truly felt safe in my body.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? It's
Yeah.
like you're in survival for me because I've gone through a lot of adverse events in my childhood.
Yeah.
Growing up, I've experienced so much, right? So much aversive, kind of destabilizing things like in my childhood, right? So it's like in that moment when I sat in my meditation, I'm like, wow, I've been in fight or flight
Hmm.
for, 23 years, 24 years, right?
Yeah.
So being able to be there, present in my body and grounded in my body, it felt different. And I was like, oh, I'm gonna keep doing this. So I've been continuous with that and very consistent with my meditation.
Yeah.
Something else that really, really helps me with my mental health, maintaining my mental health, is singing.
Yeah.
I'm a singer by nature. My mom, she sung to us when we were little children, and I think I picked up that love from my mom.
Yeah.
I inherited that.
Yeah.
I love to sing. Singing is
Nice.
it's my passion, it's my love, it's the way that I express my inner self, my inner world. Uh,
Yes.
you know what I'm saying? Like when I'm feeling these very negative emotions, instead of projecting on people and getting angry and getting like overly emotional, I choose to kind of outwardly express that in a way that is not centered or geared with hate or
Yeah.
with contempt or with these negative emotions. I tend to try to outwardly express it in the most positive way that I can. You know what I'm saying?
Nice.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yes, thank you.
So your mom also sings as well?
Yes, yes. My
Really?
mom does sing. Yeah. Yes.
So who got the gift? Your mom, you, your brothers, anyone other sister got the gift, or just you two?
Okay, so what I know, because my little brother, he be holding out. He doesn't really like kind of sing outwardly.
Yeah.
It's very like subtle in the way that he sings, but I know for sure my mom, me, my little sister too. So
Wow.
all the
Wow.
girls have the gift for
Wow.
sure. So I love that. I love that our family is very creative and artistic. And yeah, yeah. So we all three of the girls got the gift. The boys, they ain't got the gift. They don't
Okay.
have the gift. They don't.
I I want to hear you sing. I want you to sing just something you are you shy when it comes to singing?
I don't know. I don't
I
think so.
want I just sing so I want to hear your voice. Just sing so.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, you're gonna put me on the spot like that?
I'm definitely gonna put you on the spot. I did this before with a lady. She had a beautiful voice though. So, but yeah, that's when it. Some you know you can sing. And who's your favorite singer first?
Wow, that's a big question there.
Yeah,
Um, geez, I don't have so many. I have a few. So Whitney Houston,
I knew you was gonna say her for some reason. I did.
uh, Mariah Carey,
Yeah.
Michael Jackson.
Okay.
I was raised on all of that. So those are really my go-tos. I
Okay.
feel like, yeah, they're the greats. I feel like Michael is the greatest to ever do it. And something that people don't know about me is I can actually sing like Michael Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
Literally, like all the crazy like growls and the crazy things that he does with his voice, I can do all of those. I actually taught myself when he after he passed, I taught myself how to sing like him.
Mm-hmm.
So it's actually crazy, and I'm not gonna do this
Yeah.
here,
Yeah.
but because that would be a little scary.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love oldies. I love old school music. That's what I was raised on. You know, Ashanti, you know, early
Okay.
2000s. So yeah.
So can you sing one of Whitney Houston's songs? It's because her songs are kind of hard to sing, I
They
heard.
are.
Well, some of them, yeah.
Yeah, they are.
Or just sing what you're comfortable with. Just something,
Oh, okay. Let's see. You put me on the spot. Now I just like I forgot all the songs. Like what's it a song? Maybe
Huh?
the greatest love of all? Greatest love. Do you
Yeah,
know the
that's
song?
of course, yeah.
Okay. How does that go? I forgot how it starts.
I believe the
Oh
children are the
yeah,
future.
yeah. And
Oh
if
yeah.
I mess up the lyrics, please don't
No, no,
laugh.
you ain't got to sing long. I just want to hear you
Okay.
sing, just something. 'Cause I want to hear your voice.
Okay, got you. Here we go. Okay, don't be mad. Like I haven't drank so much water today, too. So yeah. Okay. I believe children are future. Teach them well and let them lead the way. Show them all the beauty they possess inside. Give them a sense of pride to make it easier. Let the children's laughter remind us how they used to be. Everybody searching for a hero. People need someone to look up to. I never found anyone who fulfilled my needs. A lonely place to be. So I learned to depend on me. And she goes like that. She goes all crazy.
Very nice. You
Thank
have a very, very, very beautiful voice. Very
you.
beautiful voice.
Thank you.
Oh yeah. And that song was actually, as you were singing, I was thinking that song is actually fitting for what we're talking about.
It is. That's why I
Yeah.
think it came to mind, honestly.
Yes.
That's
Man.
why I think it came to mind. But yeah, I love Whitney. I love that song.
Mhm.
It's such a big song.
Yeah.
Um, but I can get there. That's the thing. I can get to all her high notes. Like,
Yeah.
so
That's
yeah.
awesome.
Thank
That's
you. Thank
awesome.
you so much. I appreciate
Okay,
that.
didn't mean to put you on the spot, but
Oh,
yeah,
you're good.
I just kind of want to, hear what you can do. So you got a
Good.
beautiful voice, that's for sure.
Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
yeah.
Thank you.
So Evelina,
Yes.
how do you start a conversation with folks about mental health? Like, especially if you see somebody struggling, or if you see somebody, or you hear somebody at the grocery store, at work, just out in the field,
Right.
and they're, you know, um, saying things about people with mental health because of lack of education or lack of understanding. Like,
Mm,
how do you like start those conversations?
right. So I think number one, the first way to really truly start a conversation about mental health is to start the conversation. You know what I'm saying? Like, I
Yeah,
feel like what we're doing here, right? Just being in this place and in an atmosphere in which everybody's validated, everybody's affirmed. Um, Nobody's experience is being seen as irrelevant
yeah,
or lacking in any kind of way. I think that when people feel embraced and they feel comfortable and confident in the atmosphere, they're more likely to be outwardly expressive and to be vulnerable, right? Because I think mental health is such a very touchy and like really, really like vulnerable kind of topic for a lot of
yeah,
people. You know what I'm saying? So I think the way in which I personally would initiate a conversation about mental health, if you're speaking in terms of like people not necessarily having information and understanding relevant to mental health, I truly would just start the conversation as to what do you know about mental health,
yeah,
right? Because sometimes people speak from a place of just like misunderstanding or just misinformation and just truly not being educated, right?
Yeah.
So ultimately, I would have that conversation. What do you know about mental health, right? So, I mean, mental health, right? It's like there is this negative connotation and a negative stigma with it because a lot of people think of mental health and they automatically think about, people being in locked facilities and just
Hmm.
going crazy and, in cuffs and just like not being there and not being competent.
Yeah.
But the truth is that couldn't be so far from the truth.
Yeah.
It's so opposite and contrary to what mental health is, right? Because mental health, just in a nutshell, it could be defined as just like the stability or the place in which someone is at a
Yeah.
baseline kind of state in within their mentality or their mental capacity, right?
Yeah.
Um, it doesn't mean anything that is wrong with them. It doesn't mean that they're suffering some type of psychological disorder. It doesn't mean that, right? Mental health is just health. Where are you at with your mental health, right? Um, how are you?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's not something that people kind of create it and tailor or conceptualize it in this negative light,
Right.
right? So number one, I would definitely want to ask somebody, what do you know about mental health? What is
Hmm.
mental health to you, right? Because
Yeah.
I think we all have these different subjective kind of perceptions and understandings of everything,
Yeah.
especially when it comes to psychological well-being and health, right? Um, if we go kind of on the opposite end of how would I approach somebody struggling with
Yeah.
mental health, right? I mean, I'm going to be a therapist, so I want to approach it in a very kind, loving, compassionate
Yeah.
manner, right? Because because I have personal experience as far
Yeah.
as struggling and being in a very dark place, right? I
Mhm.
know what that feels like.
Right.
I have the empathy and just like this understanding of, okay, people are in a very fragile, kind of vulnerable state, and really being able to emphasize love and kindness.
Yes.
I think that is the main thing that we need to lead with,
Yeah.
because you can't just tell somebody that's depressed to just get over it. You can't just simply tell somebody that's struggling with debilitating anxiety to just get over it and just be happy and like go live
Yeah.
a great life, and because it's a psychological disorder, right? It's a
Yeah.
disorder of the brain. And it's an imbalance of chemicals within the brain. There is no quick fix.
Right.
So I think that you really have to um, explore different avenues of kind of giving information and being able to provide interventions and assistance to people that are really going through some of the hardest times of their lives.
Yeah.
Sure.
When, Evelina, when you were in the military,
Yes.
uh, did you see a lot of folks struggle with mental health like PTSD, depression, anxiety? Was that prevalent being in the military?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. For sure. That the PTSD is very prevalent. In the military, as we know, people go to war, right? They
Yeah.
go overseas, you know what I'm saying? They see some really unfathomable, very, very difficult things, some very tragic things, right?
Yeah.
Uh, so that's automatically going to change somebody's brain and somebody's perception of the world.
Yeah.
So yeah, I definitely and anxiety is definitely something that was very prevalent. Depression is something very prevalent because I mean the military lifestyle and life is a different beast than
Yeah.
civilian life. It's not the same, right? So like in the military, we have this structure and we have this kind of we're indoctrinated into this specific set of cultural values, right? That's associated with the military. So
Right.
it's we are told to be here, here, and here at this particular time, drop everything, you know what I'm saying? You're getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning to go to PT, like you're going out to the field, like, you know what I'm saying? It's like we are told what to do. So I can certainly say from personal experience that there was a prevalence of just psychological kind of distress and disorders within the military for sure.
Right.
And I think that as far as like the military is concerned, with people going through so much kind of psychological distress, I don't think that it's talked about enough. And I wish that that could even be talked about a little bit more because I mean it's something that's very pervasive for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I interviewed a girl a while back who is a veteran,
Mm,
and she was saying that when she got back to the civilian life,
yeah.
how it really, really, really affected her. She was saying that I guess she had to get up one day and go to work or an interview or something she was trying to do. And when she first got the military, and she was saying that she didn't even know how to really pick out her clothes because they were, always in uniform. And she was saying when she realized it took her like hours just to pick out something to wear because
Mhm.
she was so used to being in that mindset of, you guys have to wear this certain uniform, it had to be a certain way and things like that. And I thought that was really interesting. I was like, wow, like, I was just asking a lot of probing questions, but she was like, yeah, she said she said that was one of her personal struggles getting
Mm,
out of the military. And she didn't even realize that she actually started to have mental health challenges
mm.
when she went into the military,
Yes. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
trying to meet their standards, being told what to do. And she said she was always on edge and nervous, and, especially going through boot camp,
Oh
you know.
yeah. Oh yeah.
So yeah, man. So how did people, or how did you see people cope with that?
Huh.
Like, did y'all lean on each other? Like
Mm.
what did people do?
Yeah, I mean that's a really great question. Yeah, just kind of going back to what you were saying about the other girl, right? It's definitely a culture shock. Like when you
Yeah.
go into civilian life, it's a culture shock, and we can definitely talk more about like my personal experience with that. But it was a culture shock for me too. But kind of to go back to the question, how did I see people coping? Well. One thing that you'll kind of find out about people in the military is they cope in various ways. They cope a lot with alcohol. They
Yeah.
cope a lot with substance abuse. That's the coping kind of mechanism, that
Yeah.
primary coping mechanism that a lot of people in the military utilize to kind of
Yeah.
to lessen the pain or to reduce it a little bit or to just put a temporary bandage on a problem that you can't just put band-aids on this psychological pain, right? But I
Hmm.
mean in a lot of ways, just like in the civilian world, that it is a huge coping mechanism for people that are in the military. So you
Yeah.
see people on a Saturday morning downstairs on the picnic benches with a six-pack of Bud Light at
Wow.
6 in the morning, right?
Wow.
It's just like it is a very, very demanding way of life. It is a very, very, it's like a shock to your system. When you go into boot camp, I mean, I know for me, I wasn't used to low crawling and shooting weapons and being
Right.
yelled at and told to, get down and do push-ups if I did something wrong. It's just like they're conditioning you in a certain way. So,
Yeah.
like it's like, yeah, you feel like your rights are kind of um taken away in a sense, but I
Yeah.
mean ultimately it's a choice. You choose to go into the military, right? And I chose to go into the military. I knew some of the ramifications and I knew some of the experiences that I was going to have,
Right.
but I did it honestly, if I'm being truthful, I did it to get away from Sacramento, to
I
get
get
away
it.
from to get away from what was normal for me, the
Yeah.
struggle. The
Yeah.
struggle. I had to get away from the struggle. And if I knew that if I didn't get away from the struggle, right, I knew that there was not going to be a promised kind of like future for me.
Hmm. Yeah.
Um, kind of just kind of reflecting back on just like my childhood and like the different things that I experienced as a young child into, my adolescence. And I just knew I had to
Yeah.
go because
Yeah.
the environment that I was in was not sufficient enough to provide me a stable balance and a nice transition into my adulthood. So
I
go. I didn't have a choice. I mean,
hmm.
I had a choice. You always got a choice, but it was
Yeah.
like, I need to get out of here. I need to get out of here. So the military was my way out. And I have no regrets.
Yeah.
I have no, yeah.
Yeah. That's an interesting story because mine's is very similar, but
Mm,
education, school was my way out. I had an
okay.
uncle who went to the Navy, and being young at that time, I didn't really know about PTSD, some of the things that go on in the military.
Mhm.
So when he came back, he was totally different. You could tell mentally he was off balance and things like that.
Yes.
And so I was actually afraid to go in the military.
Mm,
But while he was in the military, he would come home to visit. He would always talk to me because he felt like, oh, you're going to be successful. So I was like,
mm,
okay, yeah, I'm going to the Navy, blah, blah, blah. But
mm.
when he came home, I was like, oh no, like they messed him up. And that's how I was thinking. But what
Yeah.
I did do, I did go, straight out of high school. I went to university
Mm,
away from, because I'm originally from Chicago,
okay.
away from Chicago, because I felt the same way you felt. I needed to get out the struggle. I felt like there was no positive role models. I felt like people were in
Mm,
that cycle, the guns, the drugs, death. I mean, it was crazy to me.
exactly.
And when I did decide to go to school and everybody was looking at me like I was a sellout because I want to go and get an education, but I didn't care. I really did. And I remember me going, coming home from my first break after the first semester.
Mhm.
And I remember me it was like 2 or 3 in the morning. I had carpool with some people. And I remember getting out the car like 2 or 3 in the morning, just coming back to the same old stuff.
Mm,
Nothing had changed. The people didn't change, the environment didn't change. And I realized at that moment, because I will be honest, I did struggle a little bit being away from my familiar. That's what it was mostly about. And but once I went home on my first break and saw these folks are still doing, I was like, oh yeah, like, and there was no looking back for me after that. As a matter of fact, I don't even think I think I had the next time I went home probably was 2 years after that. I didn't go home for Christmas break. It was just because I realized this is not what I want for myself. I want it more. I
mm,
want it better. I want to have options.
yeah.
And other people made a choice to stay in that space,
Yeah.
and that was their choice. But for me, I wanted options, and this is not something I wanted to carry with me to
Mm,
my adulthood.
mm.
So I totally get where you're coming from for sure.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow. Thank you. I mean, that's powerful. Like
yeah,
that testimony is just like so powerful, honestly. I mean, I feel like your ability to kind of make that choice in the opposing direction of kind of what was consistent and what was current in your community,
mm-hmm.
making that choice, right? To extract yourself from that current environment and put yourself in something that was completely unfamiliar. It was
Yeah,
completely uncharted territory, right?
yeah,
To take yourself and not know what was going to happen on the other side, if it was going to be good or bad, but to
mm-hmm.
still do that, it
Yeah.
speaks to your courage and to your strength, your mental strength.
Oh yeah,
You know what I'm saying? Because
yes.
it's crazy. Like I'm the same way. When I would come back for break, you know what I'm saying? When I was in boot camp and I came back for Christmas break, it's like everything is the same.
Yeah,
Nothing had changed.
yeah,
Everybody's still doing the same thing in the drugs, in
mm-hmm.
the gangs,
Yeah,
even out of incarceration.
mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Still having that very limited mindset and very
Uh-huh.
in the poverty, right? Just in the struggle. And it
Yeah,
was like, woo, it just reaffirmed the fact that I made the right decision.
exactly.
That's what it
100%.
did.
Yeah,
That's what it did. And I'm never gonna look back.
yeah,
I've seen the struggle, and that's not somewhere that I'm comfortable.
yeah,
Even growing up as a little girl and being in that struggle, right? Being homeless as a young child,
yeah,
right? My family was
yes,
homeless multiple times. You
yes,
know, and like it's like I always knew that that was not normal.
yeah.
I had that
Same here.
conscious belief and that like mental like connection to myself to know that that's not normal.
Mm-hmm.
Never put myself or my children that I do have in the future, the ones that I have now, in that predicament because
Yeah,
it's normal. You know what
yeah,
I'm saying? And a lot of people normalize it and they get complacent and comfortable in the chaos. And it's like,
yes.
I never got comfortable in that.
Mm-hmm.
And I promised myself to, when I grow up, I will never go back to that.
Yeah,
No.
yeah.
So,
I am the same way.
commend
100%.
you.
I
Woo.
family members, friend. I'm just for me. I'm not. I can't allow myself to be comfortable
Mm-mm.
in that type of space environment. I won't do it. I won't do it. And even like now, to be transparent with you, I don't even go home and visit Chicago. I haven't been home in so long because
Wow.
it's the same old stuff. The same old stuff.
Even years later.
Yeah, 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 which is crazy to me. So
Whew.
I do call, I do talk to people and things like that, but I've learned how to protect my mental health from against that. I learned how to set boundaries.
Yes.
I learned how to allow people to go as far as I want them to go,
Yeah.
and some people are not comfortable with that, and that's okay. But I'm
Right.
responsible for myself.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to ever put that on somebody else's plate because nobody, in my opinion, is going to care for you the way that you need to be cared for. You know
100%.
what you like, don't like, what affects your mental health, so forth. So that's my responsibility, and that's really how I think. So
100%. They
I
can call
did,
me a sellout. They can call us a sellout if they
yeah,
want to. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? That's fine. It's
yeah,
cool. I'll be that for
yeah,
the rest of my life. That's cool.
right,
But you ain't gonna
exactly.
find me where, you know what I'm saying, where I grew up. You won't find me there.
Oh no, not at
I'll
all.
be there.
Let me tell you. So when I go home to Chicago,
Mhm.
I go and stay in the suburbs. I go get a hotel in the suburbs. I remember when I when I first did that.
Mhm.
Uh, the times it was maybe about 8 years ago.
Yeah.
When I did go home or whatever, and people in my family they were offended. Oh, you wasting money. Oh, da da da. Oh, but you got nobody want to move out. I pull up. You got folks out there shooting guys, folks out there selling drugs.
Yeah.
Police chasing some. No, this ain't for me. I'm gonna make sure I make it back to California
I
alive.
choose peace and I choose protection and I
Yeah,
choose life at the end of
yeah,
the day.
yeah. You
That's
know, so that was a big
wow.
ordeal with them, but not with me. I went and got a hotel in the suburbs, which was about 45, 50 minutes away, and I was okay.
As you should.
Yeah, but I knew I was going to make it back to California alive. I knew that
Yeah.
much, and
For
that was up to me to do that,
yeah.
not the other. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, it's interesting the dynamics of how things are, how things go, and where we come from. Um, and yeah, yeah.
Wow.
Uh,
Yeah, it's like even family too. It's like family they're so quick to kind of call you like a sellout or
yeah,
say that you're selfish or
yeah,
for choosing you and your peace. You
yeah,
know what I'm saying? It's
yeah.
like that's fine. I don't understand why me choosing me offends you. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? I don't know why,
Yeah.
truly, honestly, because at the end of the day, we all have, this freedom to
Right.
choose, right?
Right.
We have a
Yeah.
freedom to choose in which direction we kind of navigate our lives. We all
Yeah.
have freedom. It wasn't just me that was granted that freedom. We have
Right.
free choice, right?
Right.
We have free will. So
Right.
the fact that my peace and my freedom of choice and the fact that I wanted to change the trajectory of my life for the better,
Yeah.
the fact that that offends you, I don't know how to truly comprehend and articulate that to a degree in which I can ever justify.
Right. Oh
Like my
yeah.
case shouldn't offend you. You know what
Right.
I'm saying? Because we all have a choice, right?
Uh-huh.
Um, and hey, I'm sorry that I chose to be the one to break generational curses, right? I'm
Yeah.
sorry I have to be the magician in this one.
Yeah.
You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? That I have
Yeah.
to break generational curses. And if we know anything about generational, intergenerational trauma,
Uh-huh.
that's deeply rooted in the
Hmm.
familial dynamic in that system.
Yes.
So the fact that I went against everything, I
Hmm.
completely went against everything that was ever taught to me, um,
Yeah.
and ingrained in me, and
Yeah.
I chose a different route,
Hmm.
that takes courage, that takes strength, and that takes a level of of passion and
Hmm.
and passion to want better, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people don't want better because they're comfortable in what is normal.
Yeah.
And it's just like I could never be comfortable in that.
Yeah. I agree.
That's crazy.
I have someone that I know who is kind of like in that situation. Their family is um fueled fueled
Mm,
with drama, you know, all type of crazy stuff, violence and just crazy stuff. So this particular individual made the choice to step away from their family.
Yeah.
And you know, and so the family, they get upset when the individual choose not to come over and want to participate. And I mean, it's crazy to me, you know, from blocking a person, don't want to talk to them. Like, I mean, just crazy. So me having that experience, I let them know that you're fine. I said, you will be fine.
Yeah.
Because what will happen is you will train them how to teach you. Stand
Mm.
your ground
Yeah.
because you don't want to go over there and get into drama. You know, you got a family member that lives with another family member, they gets into it and tear the whole
Woo.
house, you
Woo.
know, furniture, 12 tables, broken dishes, bro.
Oh,
So you know, and so, but my friend, they're getting it now. You know, they understand now, like, oh, okay, you know, and so, but their family is, oh, looking down on my friend. You
yeah.
know, they all got something to say, da da da.
Of course.
But but the life that he's in and living is going in a totally different direction than what their life is, than what he's been brought up to do, and blah
Yeah.
blah blah blah. And I encourage that. I
Yeah.
encourage that 100%.
Yes,
Yeah,
of course. I encourage that 100% too,
yeah.
right? The thing
So
is that when you master the art of just radical acceptance, you stop caring about the perception of others and
yes.
stop caring about this kind of conceptualization that they've come to kind of recognize you in, right?
Yeah,
You don't care. It's
right.
like you want to call me all these names, you want to criticize me or be judgmental or be rude, right? And disrespectful and have these very, very horrible remarks to say about me. That's fine. You can have that because
Yeah.
guess what? Me as a person that is confident and I know who I am at my core, that doesn't affect me. It doesn't
Mhm.
impact me, my level of self-esteem and
Yeah.
my level of self-awareness because I know who I am,
Yes.
right? So it's like sometimes family, they are so entitled and they feel like they deserve a piece of the cake because
Yes.
we have the same DNA,
Yeah.
but it's
Yes. Yes.
the DNA, it has nothing to do with what you deserve from me. I have nothing to give you or offer you, or I don't have an obligation to take care of you
Yeah.
because we have
Yes.
the same DNA,
I.
right?
Yeah.
Um, and I think family members, oh my goodness, like they need to start to kind of realize and recognize
Hmm.
this.
Yeah.
Um, they need to recognize it, but the thing about it is when you are kind of thrust into or you are conditioned in a certain level of kind of self-awareness or a certain level of kind of experience, right? um a certain mindset, a limited
Hmm.
mindset,
Yeah.
right? When you're conditioned in that and you've conditioned your brain to think that everybody else is the reason for your problems, it's
Hmm.
like you're gonna project, you're gonna
Yeah.
have projections on that family member that decided, hey, no, right? I want a better life for me and my children.
Hmm.
I want to get away from the ghetto. I
Yeah.
don't I don't want to do I don't want the gangs, the drugs. That was never
Yeah.
my thing,
Yeah.
right? It was just never my thing.
Yeah.
I never liked that. I never turned to that. I never thought that was cool. It's
Yeah.
just like from a little child, I just knew that this was never going to be the trajectory of my life. Um,
Yeah.
so it's like that's fine. Call me all the names in the book that you want. You still can keep that over there. And
Yeah.
having those boundaries, I really like that you brought up boundaries. It's
Yeah.
very important. It's important. And yeah, yeah. So
It
that's my
is
time for sure.
extremely important boundaries. Like
It
yeah, I just I won't I won't budge. Like I won't allow anybody to come in and take over and take my peace. I
Oh,
won't allow that. I don't care who you are, what DNA we got going on.
mm,
You don't have that privilege in my life
mm,
to come in and take me off track, you know. And
you
some people, unfortunately, when it comes to family members who are toxic, they don't know how to deal with those type of dynamics. They just, oh, okay, you my mom, you my brother, you my sister, my auntie, cousin, whatever. Okay, you can just do me in a type of way. No,
don't.
no. we ain't playing those games over here.
That's
It's
crazy. That's even a thought from
yeah,
them.
yeah,
That's
right,
crazy. I'm just
right,
saying, like, I can't even like
right, right,
comprehend the fact that that's even a thought for them.
right,
Like, I can do you however I want. I could come stay in your house, you know what
right,
I'm saying, rent
right.
free. Like,
Yeah,
I'm saying I can come and go into your refrigerator,
yeah,
all that I want.
yeah,
No, we don't
yeah.
do it over here. You know what I'm saying? So being very clear and concise with your boundaries and
Yes,
not budging from that. Because guess
yeah,
what? The moment that you budge, oh,
yeah,
you're letting the whole beast in that
yes,
you're not even ready to attend to.
yes. They
So
taking over. They
they're taking
taking
over.
over. Yeah, for sure.
Hey, they taking over the moment you budge on them boundaries.
Yeah, you and I, we're gonna have. So we running out of time. I told you I was gonna go quick. I told you
What?
that. I haven't
Already?
even got to all these questions yet. But this is a good interview because I got a lot of more stuff I want to do with you. I want to talk about your experience in the military. I want to talk about. I definitely want to talk about family dynamics. I think you would be a perfect person to talk about it with because I see that you and I share a very similar background. You know,
Oh yeah.
I could just tell. So we're gonna talk about that.
Okay.
I'm gonna end this section, but we're gonna do the 30 minute. We're gonna talk about Sandra Massey. Okay, you okay with that? That's gonna be for 30 minutes though.
Good. Okay.
Okay, all
Thank
right.
you.
That's it for this edition of Mental Health Matters. If you enjoyed this particular show, if you would like to be a guest on our show, or if you would like a DVD copy of our show, please dial 916-366-4600. Thank you.